When the weather heats up or you're just craving some cool, creamy, and satisfying, these banana yogurt popsicles are exactly what you need. They're smooth, naturally sweet, and made with just a handful of simple ingredients you probably already have in your kitchen. No artificial flavors, no complicated steps, just real food turned into a refreshing frozen treat. What makes these popsicles stand out is the perfect balance between ripe bananas and creamy Greek yogurt. The bananas bring natural sweetness and a soft, almost ice cream like texture, while the yogurt adds richness, a slight tang, and a boost of protein. A drizzle of honey and a touch of vanilla tie everything together, creating a flavor that's simple but incredibly satisfying. This recipe is also incredibly versatile. You can keep it classic and smooth or dress it up with add-ins like granola, chocolate chips, or even a swirl of peanut butter. It's a great way to use up overripe bananas, and it turns everyday ingredients into something that feels like a treat without the guilt. Whether you're making these for kids, meal prepping snacks for the week, or just treats for yourself, these popsicles deliver a flavor, texture, and simplicity. Once you make a batch, you'll always want to keep a few in the freezer because grabbing one of these on a hot day just hits different. Let's get to it. Start by setting everything up so the process flows smoothly from the beginning. Place your blender on the counter and gather your ingredients: ripe bananas, Greek yogurt, honey, vanilla extract, and a little milk. Having everything within reach makes the process quick and keeps the texture consistent since you won't be stopping and starting. Peel your bananas and break them into chunks directly into the blender. Using ripe bananas here is key. They're softer, sweeter, and blend into a much creamier base. As the banana pieces drop in, they begin forming the foundation of your popsicles. Next, add the Greek yogurt, spoon it over the bananas so it settles between the pieces. This is what gives the popsicles that smooth, creamy texture instead of becoming icy. It also adds a slight tang that balances the sweetness from the bananas and honey. Drizzle in the honey, letting it fall over the yogurt and bananas. The honey not only sweetens the mixture, but also helps improve the texture once frozen, keeping the popsicles softer and easier to bite into, straight from the freezer. Add the vanilla extract, pouring it directly into the blender. Even a small amount makes a big difference, rounding out the flavors and giving the popsicles the classic comforting sweetness. Now pour in a small amount of milk. This helps everything blend smoothly and ensures the mixture isn't too thick. You want it thick enough to be creamy, but fluid enough to pour easily into the molds. Secure the lid and blend everything until completely smooth. As it blends, you'll see the mixture transform from chunky into silky. Let it run long enough to eliminate any banana lumps. The smoother the mixture, the better the final popsicle texture. Once blended, remove the lid and check the consistency. It should be thick, creamy, and pourable with a pale banana color. This is your finished base. Carefully pour the mixture into your popsicle mold, filling each cavity evenly. Take your time here to avoid spills and to keep the portions consistent. Once filled, lightly tap the mold on the counter to release any trapped air bubbles. Insert the popsicle sticks into each mold cavity, making sure they are centered and standing upright. This helps the popsicles freeze evenly and gives them a clean, professional look when removed. Place the mold into the freezer on a flat surface. Let the popsicles freeze completely, usually for several hours or overnight. During this time, the mixture firms up to that perfect, creamy, frozen texture. When ready, remove the mold from the freezer. To release the popsicles easily, you can let it sit for a minute or run the outside of the mold under warm water. Gently pull each popsicle out, revealing smooth, perfectly shaped frozen treats. Finally, transfer the popsicles into a freezer-safe bag for storage. Keep them sealed, prevents freezer burn, and keeps them fresh so you can grab one anytime. And just like that, you've turned a few simple ingredients into a batch of creamy, refreshing banana yogurt popsicles, ready whenever you need a cool, satisfying snack. Now we have some chef notes. One of the most important factors in this recipe is banana ripeness. The riper the bananas, the better your popsicles will taste. Look for bananas with plenty of brown spots. This means they're at their peak sweetness and will give you that naturally rich flavor without needing extra sugar. Underripe bananas will make the popsicles taste bland and slightly starchy, so it's worth waiting until they're fully ready. The choice of Greek yogurt plays a big role in texture. Full-fat Greek yogurt will give you the creamiest, almost ice cream-like results, while low-fat or non-fat versions will still work, but may produce a slightly icier texture. If you want an ultra smooth finish, stick with full fat. You can also experiment with flavored yogurts, but keep in mind that will change the sweetness and overall balance. When it comes to sweetness, honey is flexible. If your bananas are very ripe, you may not need as much. Taste your mixture before pouring it into the molds. This is your chance to adjust. You can swap honey for maple syrup or agave if preferred, and each will bring its own subtle flavor twist. The milk addition is about consistency. You don't want the mixture too thick or it won't pour cleanly into the molds, but you don't want it too thin or the popsicles will freeze harder and lose that creamy bite. A small amount is enough, just enough to help everything blend smoothly. Blending thoroughly is key. Any chunks left behind will freeze into firm bits, which can affect the final texture. Let the blender run a little longer than you think you need to. You're aiming for a completely smooth, velvety mixture before moving on. When filling the molds, take a moment to tap out the air bubbles. This small step makes a big difference in the final appearance, giving you cleaner, more solid popsicles without gaps or holes. For freezing, always place the mold on a flat, stable surface in the freezer. If it tilts, the popsicles will freeze unevenly and the sticks may shift off center. Give them enough time to fully set. Rushing this step will make removal difficult and messy. If you have trouble removing the popsicles, don't force them. Instead, run the outside of the mold under warm water for a few seconds. This loosens them just enough to slide out cleanly without breaking. For storage, keep the popsicles in a sealed freezer bag. Helps maintain their flavor and prevents freezer burn. If you're stacking them, you can place a small piece of parchment paper between the layers to keep them from sticking together. Finally, this recipe is incredibly adaptable. You can mix in extras like chocolate chips, chopped nuts, granola, peanut butter swirls, berry layers. These additions can be stirred in after blending or layered into the molds for a more textured, visual appealing popsicle. At its core, this recipe is about simplicity, clean ingredients, balanced flavors, and a smooth, creamy finish. Once you dial in your preferred sweetness and texture, this becomes a go-to freezer staple you'll come back to again and again. And just like that, you've got a batch of smooth, creamy banana yogurt popsicles ready to go. Simple ingredients, easy process, and a result that feels like a treat every time you grab one. This is one of those recipes that proves you don't need anything complicated to make something really good. A few ripe bananas, some yogurt, a touch of sweetness, and you've got a freezer stocked with snacks that are refreshing, satisfying, and made completely on your terms. No mystery ingredients, just real food that tastes amazing. What I love most about this recipe is how easy it is to make it your own. You can keep it classic and clean, or switch it up with add-ins and flavors depending on what you're in the mood for. It's perfect for meal prep, great for kids, and honestly just as good for adults when you want something cold and creamy without reaching for store-bought options. Once you've got these in your freezer, you'll start reaching for them more than you expect, especially on hot days or when you want a quick, satisfying snack that doesn't feel heavy. If you've enjoyed this recipe, make sure to stick around. There are plenty more coming from Cooking with Rod. From simple everyday recipes to freezer-friendly favorites like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.